Hey guys, it's Tanya Levandoski from Hand Lettered and Loved. Today we are writing the word May using a brush lettering or brush calligraphy style. I am using a Tombow dual brush marker here. And I want to show you this really cool 3D technique. I figured out this little kind of shortcut way of drawing the actual drop shadow, because I know that it gets kind of difficult sometimes to know where the actual drop shadow should fall on the word itself. So I came up with this neat little trick, and I want to show you how to do that. So once I brush letter the word itself right here, what I want to do is I want to make a copy of that exact lettering. So I want to do a duplicate of the word May. So now I will grab a piece of tracing paper and put it right over top of the lettering that I just did. And then I'm going to use the same kind of marker, the Tombow Dual, and I am going to just trace over exactly what I did previously. Now, the flourishes are going to be a little tricky when you're tracing like this, but just remember it doesn't have to be perfect. You just want this to be a guideline, because this is how we are going to know where to make our drop shadow. Okay, so once I'm done tracing it, I'm going to take the one that I just did on top of the tracing paper, and I'm going to use my lighter colored marker again, and I'm going to go back and just fix up some of the lines and smooth out some of the lines and give it some detail. You'll see that the lines are not perfect, especially on the flourish. It's a little wobbly since I was trying to trace, but not a big deal. It's really just once you start to build upon it, you won't notice it as much. And it's just nice because, it definitely gives it that hand done feel, which is what we're all craving. So it'll be fine. So I'm just going to kind of continue to fix up some of these details here. Okay, so now I'm going to get a black micron pen, and this one that I'm using is a 05 size. And we are going to get ready to actually draw the 3D part, or the drop shadow, on our word. So you want to get the piece of paper that you did your other lettering on that says May, and you're going to take your top piece and align it with the bottom piece as to where you want the drop shadow to be. So I usually always go by my light source being in the top left corner. So if you pretend that the sun is shining down on your word, that means that the drop shadow would go to the right and bottom of each letter. So that is how I'm going to do this. Before I finish that though, I want to stop and outline my whole word first, and then we'll go back and create the drop shadow. Okay, so once I have traced the whole word May with the micron pen, I'm going to bring the tracing paper back up over top of the original lettering that I did, and I'm going to align it so that the guide is underneath and shows me where I need to draw my drop shadow. And you'll see I'm not tracing it exactly, because that's just the look that I chose to go for. I wanted to make the 3D effect, or the drop shadow, just kind of a little thicker and bigger. So all you're using that for is a guide to show you where those lines should actually fall, and where you should draw them. So this was like super helpful to figure that part out. The thing that you just want to make sure that you're doing is keeping all of your weights consistent. So the weight of that drop shadow on all of the letters is consistent throughout, and that's the main thing you want to look for. So I'm just gonna finish drawing the whole drop shadow first. All right, so once we are done, we can take away the paper underneath so that we can see our result. And then here I just noticed that I had missed a couple areas, so I'm just filling them in freehand. So what I'm going to do next here is get my Tombow markers again, and I have two different colors. I have the lighter pink that I used in this example, and then this one that I'm drawing with right now is the darker color Tombow. So I am going to blend the colors together, and you'll see that the technique that I'm using is to just color in with the darker one first in the middle of each section of the letter, and then I go back with the lighter color Tombow to blend all of that in, to make it look seamless and like a nice gradation instead of kind of choppy. The other thing is the blending will not work on just any paper. So I had some HP printer paper that I was trying this on, and it was starting to rip up the paper a little bit. So that's why one of the reasons I decided to just keep it on the tracing paper. So the blending works really nice on the tracing paper because it's super smooth and allows for nice blending. So I'm just going to keep doing this throughout the whole word, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so once I have finished coloring in with the pink, I'm going to take a gray Tombow brush marker and a gray Crayola super tip marker. The Tombow marker is pretty light gray. It's a light color, so that's what I'm using first to color in the 3D part or the drop shadow. And then what I will do is eventually go back and use the darker gray super tip marker to add some gradation and some darker gray, which will give it more dimension. And what you want to do is put the darker gray down first, just a little bit of it like I did, and then you'll use the lighter gray Tombow to kind of, take that darker gray and blend it, like, swipe it into the rest of that shape so that it nicely blends together. As far as kind of a technique here, I am just doing the darker color in the areas that would be more shaded. And to figure out those areas, you kind of want to think about that sun in the upper left corner again, because that is where your light source is coming from in this example. So right now, if the sun is shining from that upper left, that bottom part of the M that I just made darker is not getting as much light, so that's why it's darker. It's not going to be perfect, but that's kind of the idea that you want to go with. You just want to think about, which areas would be darker than others. So right now I'm kind of thinking all of the corners of all the letters are going to be a darker area. Just right off the bat, I kind of, know that. So I went and filled in all of those corners, and now I'm going back with the lighter Tombow and I'm blending them in so that it's not such a harsh line of color. And another thing that I wanted to mention and just make sure you keep in mind is that this video has been sped up. So this is more of a time-lapse version. It's not real time. So I am actually in real time going probably more than 2 times slower than what you see here. So don't think that you have to do this really quickly and fly through it. I think that this whole piece took me about a half hour, I want to say. And for how slow that I really go in real life, I don't think that you'd want to sit through that whole thing and watch it. So it just makes more sense to kind of speed it up as long as you can still see what's happening here. While you're doing this, if you find that you are getting too much of a darker color on your light Tombow marker, you want to actually wipe the marker off on another piece of paper to kind of clean it every so often. So you'll see, if you can see, that sometimes I kind of move my hand off the page and wipe the marker. That's what I'm doing. It tends to, it picks up that dark gray from the super tip marker and it starts to kind of build up on there, and you can just wipe it off on another piece of paper to help clean it and kind of reset it back to its original color. Okay, once we finish that, I am now going to take a Uniball Signo white gel pen, which I have found is the best, most opaque gel pen for creating, especially for creating highlights. And I'm going to use this one to go through and create just little strokes on each letter to create these little highlights throughout the word. And I usually only have to kind of go back over it, go back over each stroke once to get the nice like opaqueness that I want. So you'll see that's what I'm doing here. Okay, for the finishing touch, nothing is complete without some glitter. So I am going to take a Spectrum Noir clear glitter brush, and we are going to paint over top of the whole word. I'll zoom in here so you can see a little better. I can see that sparkle there, and I'm just going to go over the whole word with this sparkle brush to give it its finishing touches. Okay, that is it. This is our final piece, complete with some sparkles. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you were able to follow along and make your own beautiful lettering piece. So don't forget to subscribe, because I will be doing more videos like this, especially for each one of the months. This is a great little touch for your bullet journals if you do that kind of thing, or just to practice in general. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.